He made me sign the divorce agreement overnight for his first love. I'll pay you as much as you want. I only ask for your understanding. I said I didn't want money. I just needed him to sign away all his rights. Without a moment's hesitation, he signed. And the next day he registered his marriage with his first love. He didn't know that I was already 3 months pregnant. 10 years later, our son got into his alma mater, graduating as the top student in his class. At the graduation ceremony, he delivered a speech as an outstanding alumnus. When our son took the stage as the student representative, standing next to him, the audience whispered to each other, "These two look so much alike, don't they?" His face instantly drained of color. His first love in the audience looked even worse. When I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau's door, the sky was lead gray, pressing down until it was hard to breathe. The cold wind sliced against my face like a knife, numbing me. I felt nothing. Gu Yenshin didn't come. He was busy picking up his white moonlight. Bai Yueling. He said she had just gotten off the plane, was weak, and couldn't handle the trouble. So, for him, a small matter like a divorce could be handled by the assistant. A black Bentley parked by the roadside, silently showcasing its owner's wealth and my embarrassment. The car window lowered, and Gu Yanshin's assistant, Zhang Qing, handed me a check. "Miss Su, President Gu said that for the 3 years of our marriage, this money is compensation." His tone was laced with a formulaic politeness, but a hint of disdain lingered in his eyes. I looked at the long string of zeros on the check and suddenly laughed. Compensation. He used money to compensate for my lost love and the fatherly love denied to my unborn child. How ironic. I took the check, and in the gaze he thought would be filled with gratitude, I tore it into pieces with force. The paper scraps fluttered like a belated funeral. "Tell Gu Yenshin, I, Su Wan, am not for sale. I find his things filthy." I turned and walked away, my back straight. Behind me was Zhang Cheng's shocked exclamation. I didn't look back. I took a taxi to the hospital. I registered, queued, and sat on a cold bench, surrounded by happy pregnant women coming and going. Their husbands carefully assisted them, smiles of anticipation on their faces. My hand instinctively rested on my still flat stomach. Here, a little life was quietly sprouting. His only father had, today, severed all ties with him. It's my turn. I'm lying on the examination table, the cold probe gliding over my lower abdomen. The doctor's formulaic voice sounds in my ears. "The fetus is developing very well. Look, this is his heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump." The strong, healthy heartbeat resonates clearly through the instrument, echoing in the small examination room. In that instant, the tears in my eyes finally burst forth. These are not tears of despair. It's my child telling me that I am not alone. I have the closest blood connection in the world. I must be strong for him. Walking out of the hospital, the sunlight pierces through the clouds, somewhat blinding. I take out my phone and find Gu Yanshin's name, the number I once pinned, noted as the love of my life. I delete the note word by word, then press the delete key and block him. WeChat, blocked. All social media, all blocked. Clean and decisive, leaving no room for doubt. I return to the villa that was once called home. Everything here bears his mark. The designer bags he gave me fill an entire walk-in closet. The jewelry he gifted glistens with a cold light in the velvet boxes. What I once treasured now feels unbearably out of place. I led a second-hand luxury goods reseller and had everything packed up to sell. I don't want any of these. Transfer the money directly to my card. That night, I moved into a rented small apartment. The room isn't big, yet it gives me an unprecedented sense of peace. On the TV, a news report is overwhelming the screen. Gu Yenshin, president of Gu Group, held a grand wedding today in Bali with famous pianist Bayueling. In the footage, he wears a sharp suit, looking at Bayueling in her white dress with adoring eyes. Golden boy and jade girl. A match made in heaven. All the media praise this as a romantic tale of a broken mirror reuniting. My heart is stabbed with pain by that image. Just yesterday, he was still sleeping beside me. Turns out, adult relationships can switch so quickly, so ruthlessly. I picked up the remote and turned off the TV. The world instantly fell silent. The doorbell rang. It's my best friend Lin Fei. As soon as she entered, she hugged me, her eyes red. Late. You fool. Why did you come out without wanting anything? That scumbag is living it up on the island with that White Lotus. And yet you don't even have a place to stay. She took a card out of her bag and insisted on shoving it into my hands. There's 200,000 in there. Just take it for now. I pushed it back, shaking my head. Fei, I'm not going to escape. I'm going for a rebirth. I touched my small belly, my gaze unwaveringly resolute. I'm not alone. Lin Fei was taken aback, then quickly understood, tears falling even more fiercely. She hugged me, cursing Gu Yenshin 1,000 times. I just listened calmly, with no waves in my heart. 3 days later, I boarded the train heading south. I didn't tell anyone my destination. As the train started moving, the city's neon lights slowly faded away, eventually becoming blurry specks of light. Leaning by the window, I gently spoke to the baby in my belly. Baby, from now on, it's just the two of us. Goodbye. Gu Yenshin, goodbye. My 10 years of humble love. To the city I chose is called Yunqing, a quiet seaside town. With the money I got from selling those luxury items, I rented a house with a sea view. I didn't have much savings. Every penny had to be stretched. The early symptoms of pregnancy were particularly severe. I was nauseous and could hardly keep anything down. On the most difficult nights, I would cling to the toilet, vomiting until bile came up. Only able to sip a little water to maintain myself. Sometimes I would break down, doubting whether I could hold on. But as soon as I thought of the little life in my belly, I was filled with strength again. For him, I could endure any hardship. I enrolled in online design courses, sitting at the computer every day with my belly. From the basics of software operations to complex design theories, I absorbed knowledge like a dried sponge. Eager and frantic, I couldn't afford to falter. I had to have a skill, one that could provide for me and my child. Carrying a child for 10 months. One day of delivery, the day Su Nianan was born, I was in the delivery room for over 10 hours alone in pain. When the nurse brought that wrinkled little baby to me, all my hardships and grievances evaporated. He was so small, so soft, eyes closed, little mouth opening and closing. I named him Su Nianan. May he lead a life of peace every year. With Nianan here, life became even harder. But it was also filled with warmth and hope. He seemed to know how hard it was for Mom, showing exceptional understanding from a young age. While other children were learning to walk, he could quietly sit to the side playing with blocks on his own. As I took care of him, I started taking on some freelance design work online. From a small business card design to product packaging, I take on anything that can make money. The house we live in is small, and all of Nianan's toys are made from old cardboard boxes by me. Yet he plays happier than anyone else. I thought life would continue to be humble but stable like this, until Nianan showed his incredible talent. At 2 years old, he pointed at the picture book and could clearly read every word. At 3, he taught himself simple computer programming. The children's computer I bought for him was taken apart and reassembled repeatedly, eventually resulting in a program I could not understand at all. It was then that I first realized my son might be a genius. I began to consciously cultivate his interests, buying him many specialized books. He could understand those profound symbols and theories after just one read. Life began to take a turn because of Nianen's talent. One time, a design draft I had struggled to complete over several sleepless nights was stolen by a shameless company. Not only did they refuse to pay the final payment, but they also patented my design. When I went to confront them, I was roughly thrown out by the security guard. Standing beneath the towering building of that company, I felt an unprecedented sense of despair and powerlessness. What could I use to fight against them? I didn't even have the money to hire a lawyer. When I got home, Nianan saw my red eyes and didn't ask a word. He silently climbed onto a chair and opened his small computer. His little hands flew over the keyboard, and lines of code flashed quickly across the screen. Half an hour later, he turned his head, his young face filled with seriousness. "Mom, I've got the evidence." I copied internal emails from their company and the creation times of original documents. I looked at him in shock, staring at the clear chains of evidence on his computer screen, unable to say a word. My son, in his own way, protected me. I held him, crying and laughing at the same time. "Nianan, you are amazing." He patted my back, comforting me like a little adult. "Mom, don't cry. No one can bully you." I won that lawsuit. I not only got back the design that belonged to me but also received a substantial compensation. With that money, I established my own design studio. It's called Nianan Design. My son is the source of all my hopes. 3 times as the best healer and the most powerful catalyst. 10 years have flown by in the blink of an eye. Nianan Design has grown from an obscure little workshop into a rising design studio highly regarded in the industry. I am no longer that single mother worrying about making ends meet. I became the independent, confident, and successful Miss Sue in others' eyes. And my son, Su Nianan, has grown from a soft little bundle into a refined and academically excellent young man. He skipped grades and completed all his courses, securing an invitation to graduate from one of the top elementary schools in the country with absolute advantage. Coincidentally, that elementary school is in the city I escaped from. Even more coincidentally, that elementary school is also Gu Yanshan's alma mater. I looked at the familiar and glaring name in the outstanding alumni section of the graduation invitation, feeling an unexpected calm inside. It has been 10 years. And the name Gu Yanshan has become just a symbol to me, a stranger who shares blood with my son but has no emotional connection. Should I go back? Of course. I must return, not to rekindle old ties or prove anything, just for my son's glory. He deserves to stand on the brightest stage and receive everyone's applause. I want everyone to see that without a father, my son can still grow up to be so outstanding. Before setting off, I received a major project. The other party is Xinhua Group, the arch-nemesis of Gu Yanshan's Gu Group. They have taken a liking to my latest design plan and specifically requested that I personally take charge of it. This must be fate's arrangement. I signed the contract without hesitation. At the airport, Su Nianan, dressed in a smart little suit, took the initiative to push my suitcase like a little gentleman. He has grown tall enough to reach my shoulder, and I can see some of Gu Yanshan's features in his face. Yet that calm and reserved demeanor is something Gu Yanshan could never master. It seemed he noticed my distraction and asked, "Mom, do you feel nervous seeing that person's name on the invitation?" I snapped back to reality and smiled while ruffling his hair. "Silly child. Why would Mom be nervous? I'm just going to attend my son's graduation ceremony. You are my pride, aren't you?" Hearing this, Nianen's face broke into a faint smile. "Yes, Mom is also my pride." We exchanged smiles, everything unsaid but understood. When the plane landed, the familiar atmosphere of the city washed over me. It has been 10 years, and this place has become more prosperous yet more unfamiliar. I felt no sense of trepidation about returning to my hometown. To me, it was merely a stop on my son's new journey. Everything from the past has been buried. For on the day of the graduation ceremony, I carefully selected a champagne-colored long dress. The simple and elegant design perfectly outlined my well-maintained figure. I put on light makeup, my long hair up in a bun, revealing my slender swan neck. The woman in the mirror had clear eyes and a gentle demeanor. Yet there was a resolute and aloof quality that could not be overlooked. Over the past decade, life has polished me well. Outside the venue, guests were flocking in, luxury cars flowing like water. As I held Nyen An's hand and approached the check-in area, I heard a sharp yet familiar voice. Well, if it isn't Su Wan. I looked up and saw Bai Yuling. She was dressed in the latest haute couture from a top luxury brand, clutching the newest Hermes bag. Her makeup exquisite and sparkling. It had been 10 years, and she still wore the demeanor of a superior victor. When she saw me, her initial shock quickly morphed into blatant boasting and provocation. I really didn't expect to run into you here. How have you been these past years? By the looks of your outfit, things should be good, right? She scanned me from head to toe, her tone brimming with superiority. Before I could respond, she continued on her own. Of course, Yenshin is the kind of person to be soft-hearted. Even after the divorce, he must have given you a lot of money, enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. She paused, deliberately flashing the enormous diamond ring on her ring finger. My relationship with Yenshin has been great these past 10 years. He treats me like a princess, always accommodating me, unlike some people, who can't even keep their own man. I quietly watched her performance, as if I were observing a clown. Once she finished, I merely smiled lightly. Mrs. Gu, you seem quite idle. Instead of spending time here concerned about my life, you might want to pay more attention to your own face. After all, no matter how thick the foundation, it can't cover the fine lines at the corners of your eyes or the unease in your heart. Bai Yuling's expression changed in an instant. What mattered most to her was her appearance, and what she feared most was aging. My words had accurately struck at her sore spot, just as she was about to explode. Sun Yan and walked out from behind me. He politely called out to me, "Mom, we should go in now." Bai Yuling's gaze froze upon seeing Nyen An's face. Shock, disbelief, and then panic. She stared intensely at Nyen An's face, her lips trembling, unable to utter a word. That face was carved from the same mold as the young Gu Yenshin. I curved my lips and, holding my son's hand, casually walked past her. "Excuse me, Mrs. Gu." I didn't look at her again, but I could clearly feel the piercing gaze on my back. I knew that Bai Yuling's internal alarm had been fully triggered. As expected, just as I sat down, I saw her flusteredly pull out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen as she typed. She was sending a message to Gu Yenshin. "Very good. The good show has just begun. 5. The ceremony officially commences. The proceedings are lengthy and tedious, until the host announces a name in an impassioned voice. Next, let us give the warmest applause to our school's outstanding alumnus, Mr. Gu Yenshin, president of the Gu Group." As he comes to the stage to speak, the audience erupts in thunderous applause. I look up. Gu Yenshin walks onto the podium in a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, his steps steady and composed. After 10 years, he has shed some of the sharpness of youth and gained the charm of a mature man. He is still that favored one, standing atop the pyramid, basking in the spotlight of admiration. He takes the microphone and begins his cliched speech on his struggles and successes. His deep, magnetic voice is irresistibly captivating. It draws waves of admiration from the younger students in the audience. I sit below, watching him lively and spirited, feeling no ripples within. I even find it somewhat laughable. What qualifications does a man who can so easily abandon his own flesh and blood have to speak here about success and responsibility? Beside me, Bai Yueling is already fidgeting restlessly. She keeps glancing back at me, her eyes filled with doubt and caution. Gu Yenshin finishes his speech. The host returns to the stage. Thank you, Mr. Gu, for your wonderful sharing. Next, let us invite this year's only top scorer, the student representative, Su Nianan, to speak. My heart leaps at the moment I hear my son's name. I see Nianan stand up, adjusting his collar, taking steady steps beyond his years as he makes his way to the stage. The spotlight follows his small figure. He stands beside Gu Yenshin. In that instant, the entire auditorium falls into an eerie silence. Then, whispers rise like a tide from all directions. Oh my God, look at that child. He looks just like Mr. Gu, doesn't he? He looks exactly the same, especially those eyes and nose. This can't be Mr. Gus' illegitimate child, can it? The murmurs aren't loud, yet they clearly reach the stage. Gu Yanshin's face, once adorned with a courteous smile, utterly freezes as he looks down at the child beside him. He recognizes Su Nianan's face. That face, so similar to his own from his youth, with hardly any differences. His brain buzzes, falling into total blankness. The speech he holds slips from his fingers, fluttering down to the ground. He becomes stiff all over, the color draining from his face at a visible speed. He stares intently at Su Nianan, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief, and Su Nianan seems oblivious to his loss of composure. He calmly picked up the microphone and adjusted its height. A clear, resonant voice spread through every corner of the auditorium via the sound system. My success is primarily thanks to my mother. It was she alone who painstakingly raised me. These words struck Gu Yanshin's heart like a heavy hammer. They also struck the hearts of everyone in the audience. Gu Yanshin's body shook violently, almost losing his balance. As soon as the ceremony ended, Gu Yenshin dashed toward the backstage like a madman. He charged through the crowd like an enraged lion, ignoring his assistant's obstruction, and positioned himself precisely in front of me and Nianan. His eyes were bloodshot, filled with rage and pain, fixated on me. Su Wan, why did you lie to me? His voice was hoarse, filled with the anger and pain of betrayal. Why did you keep this from me all these years? I looked at his unstable demeanor coldly, finding it utterly ridiculous. Lie to you? I took out the already prepared copy of the agreement from my bag and slammed it in front of him. Mr. Gu really has a lot on his mind. 10 years ago, it was clearly written in black and white that you yourself relinquish all rights concerning the child. You didn't even bother to look at it before signing. Gu Yenshin looked at the agreement, at the flourishing signature at the end, his body shaking even more violently. He remembered that night. His mind was filled with thoughts of Bai Yueling returning to China, and he wanted to dismiss any documents I brought as quickly as possible. He really didn't read it. He thought it was just an ordinary divorce property settlement agreement. He never expected that it concealed a child of his own. No, it can't be like this, he murmured, as if unable to accept the truth. Su Nianan stood in front of me, looking up with an icy gaze at the tall man before us. Sir, please show some respect. My mom didn't lie to you, and I don't have a dad. Nianan's voice was soft, but each word was clear and resonant. Gu Yanshin's body staggered back as if struck hard, taking a sudden step away. He looked at Nianan's face, which resembled his yet was filled with indifference, heart aching to the point of suffocation. At that moment, Bai Yueling and Zhang Qing also rushed over. The scene instantly became more chaotic. Upon seeing this, Bai Yueling immediately donned a tearful expression and stepped forward, linking her arm with Gu Yanshin's. Yanshin, please don't be agitated. I believe Miss Sue must not have intended it. As a woman raising a child alone for so many years, it must have been very tough. Now that the child has grown up, wanting to help the child recognize her roots is understandable. With just a few words, she tried to paint me as a malicious woman who schemed for money, bringing the child back. It really is repulsive after 10 years. Shut up. Gu Yanchen fiercely shook off her hand, yelling at her for the first time. Bai Yueling was stunned by his outburst. Her face filled with disbelief. Gu Yanchen ignored her further. He squatted down, trying to grasp Su Nianen's hand, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. Child, I'm your father. Slap. I harshly pushed his outstretched hand away. Gu Yanchen, don't touch my son. My gaze was as cold as ice. Full of warning, he looked up at me, his eyes filled with endless regret and pleading. But all I felt was disgust. I took Nianen's hand and turned to leave. Nianen. We're going home. Behind me were Gu Yanchen's painful howls and Bai Yuling's panicked screams. It had nothing to do with me anymore. 7 Gu Yanchen had gone mad. He sent people to investigate everything about me over the past decade. When the investigation report landed on his desk, this powerful man in the business world felt for the first time what it was like to have his heart torn apart. The report contained the entirety of my struggles over the past 10 years. There were photos of me, heavily pregnant, burning the midnight oil in a small rented room drawing design drafts. Surveillance footage captured me holding a feverish Nianan, waiting in the hospital corridor all night. There was a record of Nianan and me sitting at a tiny dining table, sharing a bowl of instant noodles. Scene after scene, item after item, like sharp knives, slowly slicing his heart. He saw my difficulties and resilience. He saw Nianen's maturity and excellence. When he compared his extravagant, self-indulgent life over the past decade with Bai Yueling to ours, a tremendous sense of regret and guilt nearly drowned him. He was wrong. He was unbelievably wrong. He started frantically calling and texting me. The calls wouldn't go through. I had blocked him. The messages wouldn't send. He was also blocked, unable to find me. He surrounded my studio. I had the security escort him out. He then waited downstairs at my apartment building. I called the police, claiming he was harassing me. When he was taken away by the police, his disheveled and desperate appearance was truly satisfying. It was the first time he realized that some things, once missed, could never be reclaimed. He thought money could solve everything. He wanted to make up for it with money. He sent various expensive gifts, for me and for Nianen, piling up at the door of the studio. I had my assistant return them all unopened, with a note attached. Neither I nor my son lack money, and we definitely don't need you. He stared at that note, sitting alone in his office all night. He started to suffer from insomnia, began drinking, and made numerous mistakes at work. The once unassailable Mr. Gu had turned into a soulless shell tormented by regret. Bai Yueling watched all of this, anxious in her heart. She knew that the arrival of Su Wan and her son had severely threatened her position. 8 Bai Yueling couldn't sit still any longer. When she found me, I was in the studio having a meeting with the project leader from Xinhua Group. She didn't have an appointment and barged right in. As soon as she entered, she dropped to her knees in front of me, crying like a rain-soaked pear blossom. Su Wan, I beg you. I apologize. What happened back then was my fault. I was blinded. I plead with you, for the sake of our past friendship, to let us go. Yanshin is suffering a lot right now. He's almost ruined the company. If you want money, I'll give it to you. I'll give you everything I have. All I ask is for you to leave with your child and stop destroying our current family. Her performance was full of tears, as if I were the villain tearing apart their happy family. Everyone present was stunned. I only sneered. I gestured for the project leader to wait. then walked over to her. Looking down at her, Bai Yueling, put away your act. It disgusts me. Do you think I'm still the Su Wan from 10 years ago? Someone you can manipulate, destroying families. Do you even deserve to say those words? My voice wasn't loud, but each word was icy cold. Bai Yueling's cries faltered, a fleeting look of embarrassment and resentment crossing her face. Seeing that the soft approach wasn't working, she began to get tough. From that day forward, my studio started facing one trouble after another. First, a supplier we were collaborating with breached the contract for no reason. Then the design drafts were maliciously leaked. Even ruffians came to the store to cause trouble, scaring off customers. On the internet, there began to be many posts slandering me, claiming I was a mistress who couldn't rise to power and was now back with an illegitimate child to snatch the family fortune. The language was utterly offensive. I didn't have to think to know that these were all Bai Yueling's doing. She thought these lowly tactics could drive me away. She underestimated me too much. And even more so my son. These small troubles were resolved effortlessly by Sun Yan, and before I even had to lift a finger, he effortlessly found evidence that the supplier had been bribed using his small computer. He discovered the network addresses and transfer records of the online hired guns. He even managed to obtain recordings of the thugs' phone conversations. He categorized all the evidence and saved it onto a USB drive, which he handed to me. Mom, it's time for us to strike back. I looked at my son, calm and powerful, feeling both proud and somewhat apprehensive. Fortunately, I had taught him well. Thankfully, he has the ability to protect himself and his mother. I patted his head. Nyanan, thank you. It's time. It's time for Bai Yueling to pay for everything she has done. 9. Under the guise of collaborating with the Xinhua Group, I held a grand personal design exhibition. I invited all the mainstream media in the city. At the press conference, I wore a sharp white suit, standing confidently and calmly under the spotlight. I shared my story of how, over the past decade as a single mother, I started from scratch to establish my own brand. My story earned the respect and applause of everyone present. During the QA session, a journalist bribed by Bai Yueling posed an extremely sharp question. Miss Su, you've always said you are a single mother. So may I ask, who is your child's father? There are widespread rumors online that you were the mistress, bringing your child back to claim inheritance. What do you have to say about this? All the cameras in the room suddenly turned towards me. I felt no panic, only looked calmly at the journalist. As for my son's father, he passed away 10 years ago. And as for the mistress, before I could finish my sentence, Sun Yanan walked up from backstage. He held a small USB drive in his hand. Walking up to my side, he took the microphone handed to him by the staff, his small frame radiating immense energy. About the rumors online, I believe this can clarify everything. He plugged the USB drive into the computer, and in the next moment, evidence of Bai Yueling bribing online mercenaries and hiring people to cause trouble appeared on the big screen at the press conference. Transfer records, chat screenshots, phone recordings, all crystal clear. The audience was in an uproar. Everyone was stunned by this shocking twist. Sun Yanan looked at the astonished journalists below, his voice bright and firm. I am proud of my mom. She is the greatest mother in the world. Anyone using any despicable means to harm her, I, Sun Yanan, will never agree. He paused, his gaze piercing through the camera as if looking at someone. As for my biological father, he signed an agreement 10 years ago to give me up. So, our lives with my mom have nothing to do with him or them anymore. In the live broadcast, Gu Yenshin sat in his office, watching this scene, his heart aching to the point of breathlessness. He clutched his chest, spitting a mouthful of blood onto the expensive desk. He lost utterly. 10. The press conference event detonated like a heavy bomb, stirring up a huge storm in the city. Bai Yueling instantly turned from the envy of everyone as a wealthy madam to a despised vicious woman. The stock price of the Gu Group was also severely impacted, plummeting dramatically. Gu Yanshan's trust and affection for Bai Yueling was worn down to nothing in this storm. He began investigating everything from that year. He wanted to know what he had missed and what he had been deceived about. The truth was cruel. Bai Yueling had not returned to the Count due to the serious illness she claimed needed his care. Instead, she had accumulated a massive gambling debt abroad and was being hunted by loan sharks, returning to seek him out as her long-term meal ticket. What he found even harder to accept was discovering that Bai Yueling had been secretly taking contraceptive pills for the past 10 years. Though she claimed to love him and wanted to have a child for him, she had no such intentions behind his back. She was simply greedy for the glory and wealth that being Mrs. Gu brought her. Gu Yanshan laid out all the evidence and confronted Bai Yueling. In the villa that was once filled with laughter, he threw a stack of photos and documents in her face. Why? His voice was as cold as the Siberian wind. Bai Yueling looked at the evidence, her face pale and panic-stricken. She knew it was all over. Under Gu Yanshan's chilling interrogation, she broke down and inadvertently revealed everything from that year, including how she pretended to be sick to deceive him into coming back and how she slandered me in front of him. Listening to her cries, Gu Yanshan's heart slowly sank to the bottom, frozen completely. It turned out that his decade of deep affection and guilt was all just a joke. For a woman full of lies, he had abandoned the wife who truly loved him and their unborn child. He was the biggest fool in the world. Let's get a divorce. He looked at the unfamiliar woman before him and calmly said those words. No more anger. No more heartache. Just endless disgust and exhaustion remained. 11. Bai Yueling was unwilling to accept it. She could not bear to fall from the clouds into the mud. She became frantic. Losing her sanity, she thought of a final, most vicious move. She kidnapped Su Nianan. When I received her call, I was driving. On the other end of the line was her frantic and uncontrolled voice. Su Wan, your son is in my hands. If you want him to live, have your company withdraw the project immediately, and make Gu Yanshan transfer half of his assets to my name. Otherwise, just wait to collect your son's corpse. At that moment, I felt as if the sky had collapsed. My hands gripping the steering wheel trembled uncontrollably. I forced myself to calm down, to be even calmer. Bai Yueling, don't hurt him. I can agree to all the conditions you propose. Where are you right now? The call was disconnected. I turned the car around like a madman, simultaneously calling the police and notifying Gu Yanshan. I didn't know where Bai Yueling would take Nianan. All I knew was that my son absolutely could not be in danger. However, I still underestimated my son. Just when I was panicking like a headless fly, my phone received a location. It was sent out by Nianan through his children's watch. That watch had emergency rescue and location features. In an abandoned warehouse, Su Nianan, bound to a chair, appeared terrified on the surface, yet was remarkably calm. While he dealt with the crazed Bai Yueling, he secretly pressed the emergency button. When Gu Yanshan and I arrived with the police, this was the scene we saw. Su Nianan was unscathed, cradled in a police officer's arms. Meanwhile, Bai Yueling was handcuffed, pale as a ghost, being escorted to the police car. I rushed over and hugged Nianan tightly in my arms. My body was still shaking uncontrollably. Nianan, you scared mommy to death. Nianan patted my back, softly comforting me. Mom, I'm fine. Don't be afraid. Gu Yanshan also rushed over, looking at Nianan. The fear and heartache in his eyes were almost overflowing. He reached out, wanting to embrace the son who had kept him worrying. But Su Nianan recoiled in my embrace, turning his head, looking at him with an extremely cold and unfamiliar gaze. At that moment, The hand Gu Yenshin had extended froze in midair. He knew that between him and his son lay a chasm of 10 years that could not be crossed. 12 Bai Ling was sentenced to prison for kidnapping and extortion. Facing multiple charges, Gu Yenshin divorced her and chose to leave with nothing. He transferred all the property under his name to Sun Yenin. He said this was the only compensation he could offer his child as a father. After handling everything, he came to find me at the place downstairs from my studio, the site of our first and last argument. He looked much haggard. His hair had turned a bit gray, and he no longer possessed the vigor of the past. He stood before me, his posture extremely low, nearly humble. Wan, I'm sorry. I know. It's too late to say anything now. I don't ask for your forgiveness, nor do I wish for us to start over. I just want to ask you to let me see Nyen occasionally as a father. Okay. His eyes were red, and his voice choked. I looked at him calmly, devoid of any hate or love in my heart. Only a sense of relief remained. Gu Yenshin, some mistakes, once made, can never be corrected for a lifetime. For Nyen An's sake, I won't stop you from seeing each other. He has the right to know who his father is. But between us, it's forever impossible. After I said that, I turned around. Not far away, the project partner from Xinhua Group, the man who had silently supported and admired me, was smiling as he walked towards me. In the sunlight, his smile was warm and bright. I took the hand of Sun Yenin, who had been waiting by my side, and walked towards him in the sunlight. The three of us came together under the sun, our shadows stretching long. Gu Yenshin stood in place, watching our retreating figures, tears streaming down his face. He finally understood. What he lost was not just a wife and a son. What he lost was the girl who once had only him in her heart and eyes. The warmest home in the world that he should have had but destroyed with his own hands. In his remaining life, he was left with endless regret.